when my son was 2. I had a huge argument with my in-laws. And since then, I haven't stepped foot in their home. For over 10 years, every time there was a visit to my in-laws, it was my husband who took our son. On my mother-in-law's 70th birthday, my husband and son insisted that I go with them. Unable to resist their repeated pleas, I finally agreed. Before dinner, my husband handed everyone an 8 yuan bottle of milk, but he handed me a 3 yuan one instead. There are no more 8 yuan ones. Just take the 3 yuan one. Anyway, you always drink the cheaper stuff at home, and you can't tell the difference. My son chimed in after hearing his father's words. Yeah, Mom, just take it. At your age, does it really make any difference if it's cheap or expensive? It's just a bottle of milk. You don't need to be so petty. I smiled wryly, speechless. Chapter 1. I looked at the simple, unadorned bottle of milk in my husband Leo's hand. Then I glanced at the empty carton on the floor that used to hold the 8 yuan bottles of milk. Leo would give everyone their 8 yuan milk, but never to me. Suddenly, I found this marriage utterly meaningless. I didn't reach out for the bottle of milk. Instead, I looked up calmly at Leo and said, I want a divorce. Leo stared at me, bewildered, as if he were looking at a madwoman. What did you say? It's just a bottle of milk. Don't lose your mind here. The whole family is watching. Give me some face. You're over 40 now, and still acting like a young girl, fussing over a bottle of milk. I think you're doing this on purpose. Tell me, in all these years, have you ever fulfilled your duties as a daughter-in-law? You haven't set foot in my family's home for over a decade. Today is my mother's birthday, and yet you still have the audacity to make a scene here. Wasn't it just that, when our son was 1 year old, my mom and sister offended you? Is this your way of getting revenge? Hearing the commotion, our son Lucas stood up, his face displeased, and said to me, Mom, can't you consider the bigger picture? It's Grandma's birthday today, and we're all happy. Can't you just not ruin the mood? It's just a bottle of milk. What's the difference between the 3 yuan and the 8 yuan one? Don't you usually drink the cheap stuff at home? There's no need to be so petty, is there? I've heard about those things from Grandma and Dad. They were all trivial matters. Yet you haven't visited Grandma all these years. She still talks about you often, and I think it's time you stopped. Don't push it just because the whole family has been indulging you. I looked at Leo coldly. What have you told Lucas? Was I really the one being unreasonable back then? Chapter 2. Leo blinked, his expression showing a hint of guilt. He awkwardly tried to change the subject. Let's not talk about this now. My mom and sister are busy in the kitchen, and all the relatives are here. You, as a daughter-in-law, should make an effort to go help them. But just then, my mother-in-law appeared, smiling broadly, saying, No need. Helen and I have prepared everything. You all come and eat now. My son signaled me with his eyes to go to the dining room. I didn't want to sit down for a meal with them and put up a pretense of harmony. Yet, my husband and son dragged me to the table. I have to admit, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law had prepared quite a feast this time. There were steamed crabs that my husband loved, braised prawns that my son enjoyed, and even my favorite sweet and sour ribs. Seeing the plate of sweet and sour ribs, my husband winked at me and said, See, just now you were thinking of making trouble at my mom's birthday, but she didn't hold it against you. She even made your favorite sweet and sour ribs. Where could you find a better mother-in-law? My mother-in-law waved her hand, saying, As long as you're all happy, that's enough for me. I'm old and not of much use anymore, so I can't help with my children's affairs. Your sister needs 300,000 yuan more to buy a house, and she's been so worried she can't even sleep. Leo looked up, gave me a sly smile, and said, Mom, we're all family. I can't let you keep worrying like this. Even if I were okay with it, Zoe certainly wouldn't be able to bear it. Right, Zoe? All the relatives around the table turned to look at me. Only now did I understand why Leo insisted on me attending my mother-in-law's birthday celebration. He wanted to borrow money to help his sister buy a house. My sister-in-law Helen and mother-in-law exchanged a quick glance, their smiles barely concealed. The relatives also praised my husband, saying how loyal and loving he was, willing to give so much money to help his sister. They all seemed to completely ignore me, assuming I would agree. Yes. For all these years, Leo always seemed to consult me on everything, but my opinion never really mattered. He'd just ask, assuming I would say yes. But just as Leo was looking smug, I gave an answer he never expected. Sure, as long as you divorce me, we'll split the assets 50-50. And then, of course, you can do whatever you want with your share, including giving $300,000 to your sister for her house. The atmosphere instantly turned cold. Leo, feeling his pride was hurt, glared at me and said, "How much longer do you want to act crazy? Do you want all the relatives to laugh at our entire family?" My son, impatient, slammed his chopsticks down. "Mom, can't you think about the bigger picture? Acting like this, you're only hurting Grandma and Auntie's feelings. Every time our family gets together, it's always so harmonious. Grandma and Auntie have always been so good to me. Why is it that every time you come, there's all this drama?" Chapter 3. I looked at my son in front of me. He's 18 years old now. He is my only child. And from the beginning, I loved him like he was the apple of my eye. I always hoped to give him the best protection I could offer. I thought he would grow up to be an understanding and considerate young man. But after all these years of raising him, I realized that I mean less to him than his grandmother and aunt, whom he only sees a few times a year. If that's how it is, then maybe I don't want this child anymore either. Lucas saw me staring blankly and thought his words had convinced me. Smugly, he said, "Mom, now that you've realized you were wrong, why don't you apologize to Grandma and Auntie? Sit down and join us for dinner? We won't hold it against you." I let out a cold laugh and said to him, "Lucas, look closely. Do you see any place for me at this table? Your whole family is packed in tightly. Where do you want me to sit?" My son then looked around and realized that the entire table was indeed full. There was no place left for me, not even a pair of chopsticks. My mother-in-law quickly stood up, giving my sister-in-law a look that seemed scolding. "Helen, how could you forget to leave a place for Zoe?" Helen picked up some food and, chewing, said a bit irritably, "How would I know she'd come? She never shows up when there's anything going on at home. It's always just us. So naturally, I forgot about her. Since I got married, I've always felt that my mother-in-law's family has treated me as an outsider." Before, Helen's words would sting, but at this moment, all I felt was sheer annoyance. Leo grew more impatient, raising his voice to say, "Zoe, it's Mom's birthday today, and there are so many relatives here. Isn't it normal if there's not enough room at the table? Can't you just take some food to the kitchen and eat there?" My son chimed in, "Yeah, Mom, you often eat in the kitchen at home, so why make such a fuss?" I frowned, looking at my son, who was so indignant. "Do you really think anyone likes eating in the kitchen? Every morning, I wake up early to make you breakfast, prepare clean clothes for you, and pack your school bag. When would I have time to sit down at the table and enjoy a meal? Even those 5 minutes eating in the kitchen are moments I struggle to find. I thought that while you and your dad were sitting comfortably at the table eating the breakfast I made, you would understand that I was sacrificing myself for you both. I never imagined that one day it would become the very reason for you to attack me. I've wasted my efforts raising you, and I accept that. Let's just say all my work these past years was for nothing." My son was about to say something, but my mother-in-law stepped in to stop him. All right. Let's stop arguing. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have celebrated my 70th birthday. If I hadn't, none of this would have happened." She spoke while wiping her tears, her head of white hair making her seem pitiful. But I knew her tricks well. This was just her way of adding fuel to the fire. Chapter 4. Sure enough, as soon as my mother-in-law finished speaking, Leo slammed his hand on the table, shouting at me, "Zoe, what are you doing? My mom only has one 70th birthday, and you ruined it. What exactly do you want? Haven't I been good enough to you all these years? Don't I always ask for your opinion first about everything in the house? Even if you don't want to lend my sister money for her house, you don't have to go this far. Now, apologize to my mom." Leo tried to press me down to bow and apologize to my mother-in-law, but I shook him off forcefully. "Leo, ask yourself honestly, every time you ask for my opinion, haven't you already made up your mind? You just pretend to ask me, and every time, I'm forced to give the answer you want. You've grown used to my compromises and sacrifices on everything. Otherwise, why did you give everyone here an 8 yuan bottle of milk? Except for me, the one with a 3 yuan bottle? Leo let out a cold laugh. It's all about that bottle of milk, isn't it? How greedy can you be? When we get home, I'll buy you a whole crate of 8 yuan milk. Would that make you happy? I shook my head. Leo, you still think this is about a bottle of milk? It's not. The reason you gave me the cheap milk is because, in your heart, I'm not worthy of anything better. You think I only deserve the cheapest option, because, to you, everyone else here is more important than I am. I'm the one you can ignore. Leo froze, seemingly caught off guard by my words, as if I'd hit the mark on his true feelings. I turned and went to the living room to grab my bag from the sofa. I said to Leo, you and Lucas stay here and celebrate your mom's birthday. After her birthday, let's get a divorce. As I walked to the door, Leo finally snapped out of his shock. He seemed to realize I was truly determined to divorce him. He spoke in a flustered voice. Zoe, you need to think this through. Don't act on impulse. What can you do as a housewife? Can you survive without me? My son, holding my mother-in-law's hand, frowned and said to me, Mom, you'd better think this through. If you divorce Dad, I won't acknowledge you as my mother. The threatening tone in my son's voice almost made me laugh. For all these years, I've put him first in everything. My son probably thinks I would definitely compromise and sacrifice myself for him. But this time, it's different. I turned back and calmly said to him, whether you acknowledge me or not is your choice. And I have mine. I don't need you as my son anymore. You can stay with your dad from now on. After saying this, I opened the door and walked out. As I left, I slammed the door heavily behind me. Chapter 5. The loud noise as the door slammed shut felt like a final punctuation mark on this part of my life, this marriage where I had lost myself. I thought that after walking out of my mother-in-law's house, I would feel sadness and regret for ending the marriage. But the reality was far from it. I exhaled deeply, as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted from my shoulders. My mother-in-law's apartment was on the second floor, and as I walked out the main entrance of the building, I could still clearly hear Leo's exasperated shouting from the window. Leave her be. I've got the car keys. Let's see how she leaves. She's always so stingy. She definitely wouldn't want to take a taxi. She'll come back to beg me in no time. Yes, in the past, I would indeed have hesitated to take a taxi. Leo's salary wasn't low, but our son Lucas was at the age where expenses were at their highest, limited edition sneakers, all kinds of extracurricular activities, plus our family expenses. If we only relied on Leo's income, it would never have been enough. Our comfortable lifestyle all these years was thanks to my financial management. Leo always boasted that he supported the entire family and gave all his money to me. But the truth was, without me, we would have run out of money long ago. Leo liked fishing, and each fishing rod cost thousands. He also insisted on wearing branded clothing. I could only save money on myself, wearing the same coat for 3 years, let alone indulging in the luxury of taking a taxi. But now I had nothing holding me back. I no longer needed to worry about the family expenses, no longer had to save up to buy a house for Lucas in the future, or save every penny for Leo and Lucas. I took out my phone and ordered a DD Premium car. While waiting at the intersection, I noticed a man in his 50s or 60s wearing a floral shirt, riding an electric scooter and stopping at the entrance of my mother-in-law's apartment complex. He walked up to me with an extremely uncomfortable smile. Seeing his yellowed teeth, I couldn't help but suppress a wave of nausea. Oblivious, he asked me, "Hey there, beauty, does Lily live in this complex?" Wasn't Lily my mother-in-law's name? I nodded cautiously. The man said smugly, "Knew I had the right place. She's my girlfriend." With that, he clutched his flowers and headed into the complex. When did my mother-in-law start dating someone? And why did this man look so familiar? Suddenly, I remembered where I'd seen him before. I'd come across a video on my phone. It was of a young guy crying, saying that his mother's late-in-life romance ended with the other guy scamming her out of 500,000 yuan. And the photos in the video showed this very man. Chapter 6. If it were before, I definitely would have warned Leo and my mother-in-law to be cautious. But now I no longer have that obligation. I have nothing to do with their family anymore. Whatever happens in the future, they will have to face it. Just then, the car I had ordered pulled up in front of me. The driver politely opened the door for me. After getting in, I looked at the scenery outside the window, feeling that every breath carried the taste of freedom. The car stopped at the neighborhood where my parents lived. I knocked on the door, and my father opened it with a look of pleasant surprise. "Zoe, why are you back? You should have told us beforehand. Your mom was just about to make dumplings, saying she'd bring them to you later, and now here you are." Seeing the joy on my father's face made my nose sting with emotion. My parents and I live in the same city, but aside from holidays, I rarely visit them on regular days. I was simply too busy. Everything at home required my attention. Even if I did visit my parents, it was only for a short time, sometimes not even staying for a meal. My mother hurriedly filled a plate with dumplings for me to try. As I tasted the familiar flavor, I couldn't stop the tears from falling, one by one, onto the plate. My parents, worried, asked what had happened. I wiped my tears and said to them, "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I may have disappointed you. I got divorced." Their reaction was different from what I imagined, though they were shocked. What I saw more in their eyes was a deep sympathy for me. My dad held my hand and said, "What are you saying? If you made this decision, it must have been because you suffered greatly. Why should you apologize to us?" My mom gently patted my back and said softly, "Zoe, I know you never got along well with your in-laws. Is this divorce related to them?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. All these years, I've only ever shared good news with my parents. Never bad. It was only now that I finally opened up about why I had argued with Leo's family all those years ago. Chapter 7. When I had just given birth to my son, my body was already weak. When I was discharged, the doctor specifically told me to rest and eat nourishing foods. My mother-in-law agreed on the surface, but once we were home and Leo wasn't around, she looked at me with disdain and said, "Look at how fat you are now. I can hardly stand the sight of you, and you still want nourishing foods? You're lucky to even get millet porridge every day." I couldn't take the insult, so I told Leo about it when I got home, but my mother-in-law cried and yelled, "Leo, look at the wife you married. Here I am, at my age, cooking for her every day, whether it's stewed chicken or pork ribs, and she still talks about me like this. What's the point of me even living anymore?" And Leo didn't listen to my side of the story at all. He frowned, looking displeased, and said, "Zoe, I'm already busy enough with work. Can't you stop causing trouble for me? There's no way my mom is like what you say." At that time, my mom had just had surgery and was sick. I didn't dare tell her about all this, fearing it would affect her recovery, so I silently endured it. Despite being sick, my mom didn't forget to buy a few free-range chickens from the countryside for my mother-in-law to make soup for me. But my mother-in-law turned around and served the soup to my sister-in-law instead, until I fainted at home. When I was taken to the hospital, the doctor was shocked at how weak I was. He angrily told Leo that if he wanted me to survive, I needed to be properly nourished. Only then did Leo buy ginseng and chicken to make me a bowl of soup. But my body was already too weak to handle it, and I ended up with a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. Even now, I still have lingering health issues, often feeling dizzy and weak all over. The most unbearable part was when my mother-in-law and sister-in-law set their sights on my son. My sister-in-law had been married for 6 years but still hadn't had a child. My mother-in-law heard some nonsense somewhere, that if my sister-in-law adopted a child, she would be able to have her own. But my sister-in-law's family situation wasn't good enough to meet the requirements for adoption, so they set their sights on my son. One day, my mother-in-law, for once, kindly suggested that I go out for some fresh air, that I shouldn't stay at home taking care of the baby. But when I returned, my child was gone. I went mad, frantically searching for him. When Leo got home, I ran into his arms, sobbing, telling him our son was missing and he needed to call the police immediately. But my mother-in-law stopped Leo and said, "No need to look for him. Your sister took him. We're all family. After all, you two can just have another child in the future. Let your sister have this one." Hearing my mother-in-law say that, I felt like tearing her heart out. I lunged at her, pushing her down, barefoot. I ran to my sister-in-law's house and took my child back. When I got home, he was burning with a high fever, and I, still in my pajamas, rushed him to the hospital. When his fever finally went down, I squatted in the hospital corridor and cried uncontrollably. From that day on, I completely cut ties with my in-laws and refused to ever set foot in their house again. At first, Leo tried to comfort me, saying he wouldn't force me to visit them. Chapter 8. I never expected that. After all these years, Leo would still hold a grudge, and even my son wouldn't understand me, siding with my in-laws to blame me. After I finished sharing everything, I also told my parents what had happened today. My parents looked at me, their eyes red with tears, full of sympathy and pain. My dad held my hand and said, "Zoe, you'll always be our daughter. No matter what, you don't need to stay with people like them anymore." I squeezed my dad's hand in return and said, "Dad, I even gave up my child. Aren't you disappointed in me? Didn't you and Mom love your grandson the most?" My dad touched my head and smiled, saying, "Silly girl, you are the most precious treasure to us. We love our grandson because of you, but you will always be our number one." I hugged my parents, crying my heart out. But it wasn't because of sadness over my own situation, it was because I realized that I am deeply loved too. I realized that I am not just someone's wife, or someone's mom, but also a daughter loved by her parents. I stayed at my parents' house for a few days, spending as much time with them as I could, until the third day, when Leo couldn't hold back anymore and called me. As soon as I picked up, his impatient voice came through the phone. "Zoe, have you had enough of this? When are you coming home?" These past 2 days, I've been planning to go fishing with friends, and there's no one to cook for our son at home. As his mother, shouldn't you hurry back? I responded coldly, "I'm not going back. Whenever you have time, we should go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. You and your son can deal with your own issues." He was taken aback. Maybe he thought that by giving me an out, I would obediently go back. He hadn't expected me to refuse him. He raised his voice. "Zoe, I'm the one calling you first. What more do you want? All this, just because of a bottle of milk? Is it really worth getting this angry? I'm telling you, this is the last chance. Don't regret it later." Listening to Leo's impatient tone, I couldn't help but think of when we had just started dating. Back then, he held my hand and kept complimenting how well I took care of my hands, saying he would never let me suffer, that he wanted my hands to stay beautiful forever. But now, my hands had long since grown rough and calloused, and Leo was no longer the man I remembered. Without saying anything more, I hung up the phone. Chapter 9. Regret? Absolutely not. A few days later, I saw a post from Leo on his social media. The caption read, "Money of your own should be spent on those closest to you." In the photo, my sister-in-law, mother-in-law, Leo, and Lucas were standing closely together, with 300,000 yuan in cash laid out in front of them. It looked like Leo still lent the money to his sister, but knowing her, she probably wouldn't pay it back, and Leo could forget about ever seeing that money again. In the following days, Leo and Lucas didn't call me. I didn't have time to deal with them anyway because I had found a new goal. Since I was young, I had always loved wearing all kinds of beautiful clothes, and my dream was to become a fashion designer. During this time, I wanted to take a step back and calm myself, so I picked up my old hobbies again. I often posted videos of myself designing and making clothes online. Unexpectedly, after just a few videos, they suddenly went viral. I gained quite a few followers. I was overjoyed because, initially, I had just wanted to do something for myself, but as my account gained more popularity, people started reaching out to discuss producing my designs in larger quantities. I was overwhelmed with work when I suddenly received a call from Lucas. His tone was still that of entitlement. "Mom, you haven't been home for a while. Dad and I haven't had time to clean, and the meat in the fridge has gone bad. Come back and take care of it. Dad's always out fishing, never taking care of things at home, and my grades have even gone down. Grandma's always running around outside, and sometimes she doesn't come home at night. I have no idea what she's up to." It seemed like my mother-in-law was doing quite well with her boyfriend, putting both her son and grandson out of her mind. "Mom, why are you being so petty? It's been a while now. Shouldn't you be over it? I didn't reply. I hung up the phone and sent him one message. I already told you, I don't want you or your dad anymore. Stop calling me. After finishing my work, I made some time to visit what was once my home. As soon as I entered, a strong, pungent smell hit me. Garbage was scattered everywhere, and yellow liquid was oozing from the refrigerator. Leo and Lucas, lying amidst the mess, lit up when they saw me. Leo grabbed my hand and said, "Honey, you've finally come to your senses and come back home. Please clean up. We can't stay here anymore." Lucas hugged me excitedly, saying, "Mom, you're finally back. Please make me some food. I can't stand eating takeout every day." I shook them off and said with a blank expression, "I didn't come back to be your maid. Leo, I'm serious about the divorce. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau now." Leo looked me up and down. Chapter 10. Today, I wore my favorite design, my proudest creation. Even though I'm over 40, this dress made me look both beautiful and elegant. Leo squinted at me, and then, as if he discovered some big secret, his face flushed red with rage as he yelled, "I knew there had to be a reason you insisted on divorcing me. Just look at how you're dressed. Do you even know that you're already an old woman in her 40s? You're not suited to wearing this kind of clothing. Dressing up all flamboyantly like that. You must be trying to attract men." With that, he reached out to tear at the clothes I was wearing. At that moment, my hatred for Leo reached its peak, and I kicked him hard in the stomach. I was still wearing high heels, and that kick left Leo doubled over on the floor, groaning and unable to get up for quite a while. Lucas was stunned by what he saw, standing frozen, too afraid to say anything. I grabbed Leo, ready to take him to get the divorce certificate, but he clutched his stomach, still struggling. "Zoe, if you clean up the house today and behave, I won't hold it against you for hitting me. Think carefully, what will you do without me? I'm only staying with you for the sake of the kid. Otherwise, do you really think I'd care about someone like you? A woman over the hill?" Watching Leo's nagging, contemptible face, I clenched my fists and sneered. "Fine, you want me to clean up, right? I'll give you a proper cleanup." With that, I picked up the baseball bat leaning against the wall and swung it at the fridge in the corner. The refrigerator fell to the floor with a loud crash. "It's rotten. Spoiled contents spilling all over." I then swung at the living room table, cabinets, chairs, smashing everything until the house was a wreck. These pieces of furniture were things I once cared for meticulously, wiping them down every day. Back then, I was determined to keep this home intact. But what did I get in return? Now, with nothing holding me back, I smashed everything I had once carefully maintained, and the more I destroyed, the more liberated I felt, as if I were shattering the chains that had once bound me. Leo shouted in terror, "Zoe, you're insane. You're completely insane. A woman like you, I can't live with you anymore." I agree to the divorce. Chapter 11. After getting the divorce certificate, I was finally free of Leo. We had 800,000 yuan in savings. Leo had lent 300,000 to his sister, and I took the remaining 500,000. The house went to Leo. Just as we finished with the divorce proceedings, Leo's phone rang. He answered it and exclaimed, "Mom, where am I supposed to get 500,000 yuan for you? I just divorced Zoe, and all the money went to her. Why do you need so much money anyway? Where have you been running off to all this time? Never coming home?" I smirked. It seemed things on Leo's side were far from peaceful. Someone was already getting ready to act. After the divorce, I was completely free. I had more and more creative ideas, and many people wanted to work with me long term. Most of my customers buying my designs were middle-aged women like me. One of my fans once commented that although my designs were suitable for women of this age group, they weren't stereotypical or something that screamed old lady clothes. Gradually, I achieved financial independence. My parents were still in good health and didn't need much care from me. So, I started traveling across the country. During my travels, I met many friends. Together, we visited places I had only ever seen on TV before. Once, after climbing a snowy mountain, I was preparing to go home and rest for a while. But at the supermarket, I happened to run into my old neighbor. Sandra's parents lived in the same community as my former mother-in-law. We got along very well, and she knew exactly what my mother-in-law was like, so she disliked her just as much. Seeing me, she grabbed me with a gossip-loving look on her face and said, "Zoe, do you know? Ever since you divorced Leo, things have been awful for his family. His mom found herself some old man, spending money on him all the time. Not only did she spend all her pension, but she also kept asking Leo for money. She even cried every day, accusing Leo of being unfilial, forcing Leo to transfer the house to her name. Then, a few days later, she sold the house and gave all the money to that old man. Now that the old guy's taken the money and run, they're all crammed into a rental. I heard Leo's been so angry about it he's lost his mind, couldn't keep his job, and got fired. Leo wanted to get back the money he lent to his sister, but instead of buying a house, she invested it and ended up losing everything. Now, debt collectors are at her door every day. How could she possibly pay him back? When you were at home, your family was doing so well, we all envied you. But Leo didn't know how to cherish it. And look at him now. After hearing Sandra's words, I felt no waves of emotion. I had long known that this was the fate waiting for his family. And what did it have to do with me? Chapter 12. After saying goodbye to Sandra, I left the supermarket. But as soon as I walked out onto the street, I spotted 3 familiar figures. Leo was grabbing my mother-in-law's collar, frantically questioning her. "Where is that shameless old man you found? Where is he? Give me back my house, or I'll kill you." My mother-in-law was crying and holding onto Leo's hand, pleading, "I don't know either. He said he would stay with me forever. Who knew he'd run off with the money from the house? He must have had his reasons. Please, don't be mad, son. He might come back in a few days." Leo's eyes looked like they were about to burst. He was just a scammer. And now look, we're all going to be living on the streets. Lucas stood behind them, staring blankly at the scene, his 18-year-old face looking weary beyond his years. He used to refuse to wear anything but name brands. But now, the jacket he wore had multiple tears in it. Leo refused to let go of my mother-in-law, and the two of them ended up scuffling near the overpass. Leo shouted hysterically, "You're the reason I have no money, no house. Today, we're going down together." With that, he pulled my mother-in-law toward the edge. She screamed in terror, struggling desperately. In the chaos, she slipped, and both of them tumbled over the edge. The scene immediately descended into chaos. Someone shouted, "Call 120, quick! Call for help! Someone's fallen off the bridge." Lucas's face twisted in terror as he watched it all unfold. That's when he spotted me in the crowd. Like seeing a savior, he rushed over, grabbed my hand, and shouted, "Mom, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, won't you? I'll never say those things again. I know it was hard for you to raise me all these years. Mom, I promise I'll always be on your side from now on. Please, don't leave me. Take me home. I'll do whatever you ask. I promise. You can have all the expensive milk, and I'll drink the cheap kind." I shook him off and asked coldly, "Do you know why? Before your grandmother's 70th birthday, I always drank the cheap milk and left the good stuff for you all. And why that day I refused?" Lucas shook his head, whispering, "I don't know." I sneered at him and said, "Because before that, I loved you all. I was willing to do those things. But after that day, I no longer loved you. So no matter what you say or do, it doesn't matter to me anymore." Lucas stood frozen. I turned, got into my car, and rolled down the window. The cool autumn breeze rushed in. I put on one of my favorite songs and drove all the way home. When I got home, I received a message from one of my friends from my travels. We had already planned our next destination. This time, we were going somewhere even farther. We were going to Northern Europe to see the Aurora Borealis. I didn't know what the future would hold, but I knew that, in that moment, I was happy and free. I would never go back to the way things were, and I would never let anyone or anything bind me again. Nothing could make me lose myself anymore.